your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald, where we drive into the most pressing topics impacting the automotive world. Today, we're tackling a subject that's steering global industries off course, the U.S. China trade war. This escalating standoff, fueled by tariffs and countermeasures, is sending shockwaves through industries ranging from automotive to semiconductors. Buckle up as we explore the intricate twists and turns of this economic clash and uncover 7 pivotal outcomes shaping the future of international commerce. Number 7. The 10% tariff, igniting the economic engine. The U.S. imposed a 10% tariff on Chinese imports starting February 1, 2025, citing immigration and fentanyl concerns. But the impact extends globally. Canada and Mexico, facing separate 25% tariffs, retaliated with threats of boycotts and countermeasures. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau emphasized energy export significance, while Ontario Premier Ford called the tariffs a declaration of war. Automakers like Volkswagen and General Motors warned of rising raw material costs and supply chain disruptions, leading to higher consumer prices. Labor unions raised fears of job losses as trade relations deteriorated. Economists cautioned against a domino effect, where retaliatory tariffs could destabilize global trade. Balancing protectionist policies with international cooperation is critical to mitigating the ripple effects on pricing, manufacturing, and diplomacy. Number 6. China strikes back, leveraging rare earths and energy. China's strategic countermeasures in the U.S. China trade war target critical U.S. dependencies in rare earth elements and energy. Controlling over 70% of global rare earth production, China's restrictions on materials like neodymium and dysprosium, essential for electric motors and wind turbines, are causing supply chain disruptions. While the U.S. explores domestic mining projects, solutions remain distant. China has also reduced U.S. oil imports, favoring suppliers from Russia and the Middle East, reshaping global energy markets and intensifying competition. Additionally, steep tariffs on U.S. industrial products like ethanolamine and polyacetyl copolymers protect Chinese industries and encourage self-reliance. These moves force global manufacturers to adapt by securing alternative resources and redesigning supply chains. The fractured trade landscape demands swift action as industries brace for continued turbulence. Number 5. Shielding U.S. EV and battery industries with tariffs. The U.S. has significantly increased tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles from 25% to 102.5%, aiming to strengthen domestic automakers like Tesla and Rivian in the clean energy race. This reshuffles the EV market, making imports less competitive and encouraging consumers to choose U.S.-made options. However, the increased demand pressures automakers to scale up production quickly, which could hinder EV adoption if supply bottlenecks occur. Tariffs on lithium-ion batteries also rose from 7.5% to 25%, highlighting the need to localize battery production and reduce reliance on Chinese-controlled lithium and nickel markets. While these policies foster domestic innovation, they bring short-term challenges, including cost increases and supply chain constraints. Success hinges on overcoming these hurdles to establish the U.S. as a global clean energy leader. Before we delve deeper, we'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our passion to create more content like this. Now let's explore number 4, the semiconductor battle, doubling down on leadership. Semiconductors are at the heart of the U.S. China trade war, representing both economic rivalry and national security. U.S. tariffs on Chinese-made semiconductors will double to 50% by 2025, aiming to curb dependency on foreign suppliers and bolster domestic production through initiatives like the CHIPS and Science Act. These components power everything from smartphones to AI and defense systems, making supply chain security vital. While companies like Intel and TSMC are investing in U.S. facilities, challenges such as reliance on China for raw materials like gallium persist. China is countering by ramping up its semiconductor production and restricting exports of key materials, intensifying global competition. Though these tariffs aim to secure U.S. technological leadership, they risk higher consumer costs and slower innovation in the short term, as the battle for semiconductor dominance continues. Number 3. Europe steps up, defending its EV market. The European Union has imposed tariffs up to 45.3% on Chinese-made EVs, addressing subsidies that gave Chinese automakers an edge over European brands like Volkswagen, Renault, and BMW. These tariffs aim to restore fair competition and bolster Europe's EV industry. The EU also introduced anti-dumping tariffs on other goods, including erythritol, with duties as high as 233.3%, showcasing its commitment to protecting domestic industries. Aligning with U.S. trade policies, Europe sends a strong message about fair economic practices. However, higher tariffs are raising costs for consumers, potentially slowing EV adoption. European automakers must innovate and scale production to remain competitive. This approach signals a push for self-reliance and a significant shift in global trade dynamics. Number 2. Global supply chains in turmoil. The ripple effects. The trade war has disrupted global supply chains, heavily impacting industries like automotive, electronics, and medical equipment. Materials like polyacetyl copolymers, essential for gears and fuel systems, now face tariffs up to 74.9%, forcing manufacturers to rethink sourcing strategies. Companies such as DuPont and Celanese are grappling with higher costs and shrinking profits, while Chinese manufacturers step in to dominate high-demand markets. Countries like Japan and South Korea are boosting domestic production to reduce reliance on imports. Adapting supply chains is costly and time-consuming, with smaller businesses struggling the most. These disruptions are driving higher production costs and consumer prices. Some companies are reshoring operations to build regional supply chains focused on resilience, but this shift requires significant upfront investments and long-term commitment. Number 1. The path forward. Diversification and resilience. Nations are prioritizing diversification to reduce reliance on Chinese imports amid supply chain challenges. Japan is investing heavily in domestic semiconductor and critical mineral industries, supported by government subsidies for research and development. Taiwan is strengthening partnerships with Western nations, building fabrication plants in the U.S. and Europe to secure its position as a global tech leader. Similarly, the U.S. CHIPS and Science Act is allocating billions to enhance domestic production and mitigate vulnerabilities. However, these efforts face hurdles, including high costs, lengthy timelines, and the risk of stifling global collaboration. To address these challenges, nations are forming alliances like the Quad, U.S., Japan, India, and Australia, pooling resources to build a more resilient global economy and ensure long-term supply chain stability. Closing chapter: the ripple effect on global trade. The U.S.-China trade war is reshaping the global economy, driving home the consequences of protectionist policies. While these measures aim to safeguard domestic industries, their far-reaching effects, such as disrupted supply chains, rising costs, and slowed innovation, cannot be ignored. The automotive sector, for instance, is grappling with higher tariffs that inflate production costs and limit consumer options. The technology industry faces delays in semiconductor supplies, hindering progress in areas like AI and renewable energy. Meanwhile, energy markets are scrambling to secure materials vital for sustainability, further highlighting the challenges of this geopolitical standoff. As the dust settles, one question looms large. Can nations strike a balance between self-reliance and global collaboration? Or will these trade tensions usher in a new era of economic fragmentation? The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear: resilience, innovation, and international cooperation will be key to navigating these challenges. What do you think about the ongoing trade war? Are tariffs the right tool for protecting industries? Or do they threaten global economic progress? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Before you go, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay updated on the latest vehicle insights and trade developments. Thank you for tuning in to Highway Herald. See you next time.